Welcome to another episode of Inquiring Minds. I'm your host, Steve Harper, and with me, as always, is the amazing Donna Carlin. Donna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I am actually doing really good. I'm kind of getting back into the flow of things after being off for a couple of weeks, trying to decompress a little bit and just kind of, get my priorities in alignment, make sure that I'm focused on the right things. And so I'm in a good spot right now, which is good.
Excellent.
So I'm excited about today's conversation because it is a unique question that you are going to propose, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to answer it. But I mean, I'm kind of curious as to where you take this conversation. So, what is our topic for today?
So, would your belief in something stand up to the question, want to bet?
Want to bet? It seems like you're challenging it. Like you're like, oh yeah, want to bet? Let's go. So is that the intent? Is that what you're trying to imply there?
It's really funny. I recently watched an old movie again, Legally Blonde. I wanted some mental popcorn just to relax to. And in one of the classes, in one of the law classes, the professor asked a question and the person put their hand up and answered. And she said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "I think so." "You think so? Would you bet your life on it?" And the answer was, no. And then you could see the wheels going
Yep.
in his head. It's a different thing, slightly different than asking somebody assumption or fact.
Yep.
Are you assuming that's true? Or what is the data that you have to absolutely confirm that it is what you think it is? This takes it to your belief system.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us could really serve in asking that question when we take something as blanket true or truth, and instead ask ourselves, want to bet on it? Want to bet something that's really important to you on it? Or do you really want to verify before you dive in?
Mm-hmm. Which to your point, right, goes to your core and it goes to your reputation, right? How strongly do you believe and feel what you're putting out there? And I think it's a unique approach because it's not something that I've ever considered, and it is a little bit challenging when somebody puts it on that level. So you want to bet that you want to bet your reputation on what you're saying or what you're doing. It's a unique perspective because it really does get to the heart of whether you are fully committed and convicted on whether you're going to go forward with what you've said or done.
That's it. And people will bet money at the drop of a hat on something. They'll each take a side and they'll say, "You want to put 5 on it? You want to put 20 on it?" And bet money.
Yeah.
There's no skin in the game other than relinquishing a few dollars or as much money as you put up for the
Right.
bet. But when you bet your reputation, as you said, your life, your well-being, your value system on it, would it stand up to that? And I think that is a wonderful way for us to live by our values and to set boundaries and keep them, is to ask ourselves, you want to bet on it. You want to bet your life. You want to bet your health. You want to bet your reputation, well-being, status, anything that you want to fill in the blank with.
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is yes, then you could go in with full conviction. Doesn't mean that you're right, but you're going in with full conviction.
Yep. Well, so in your work with the clients that you've had, how have you utilized this with business leaders? Because it's a forward-thinking approach in terms of sort of challenging their assumptions and seeing truly how committed they are to whatever it is, whether it be a new business strategy, a new product idea, a new direction with how they're going to handle or manage their employees. And it could be, I could see potentially, which is why people hire you, because you are a pot stirrer. And you kind of love to create, sort of a gumbo stew of chaos in an organization to really challenge some of those assumptions. But I could see a traditional leader potentially, when you put it at that level, like You Want to Bet, sort of taking that in kind of a challenge perspective, and that's what it's really intended to be. But how do you utilize that so they come out of the other end, making sure that they're actually processing and thinking about what they believe in, or what they are so focused on in terms of the direction, or whatever the big decision might be, to get them actually to think, well, hold on, maybe I should consider other alternatives. Maybe I should look at potential other perspectives. So I assume when you do that in your work, you're probably getting a whole lot of unique conversations that occur because of that.
For sure. One of my clients said to me, I think it was a month in, he had a new boss, a new president. He was a vice president of an organization. And he looked at me when I walked into his office that day and said, I want you to help me find another job. My boss doesn't value me, doesn't think I have anything worthwhile to contribute to the organization. I have enough and I want out. And I'm trying to figure out, where is this coming from? I've seen him with his boss and I haven't picked this up. So it's not up to me to say I haven't seen it, because then I'm challenging what he's thinking, feeling, and experiencing. I need him to challenge what path he's going on, because this implicates his career and his life, right? So my question was, me, I'm a pot stirrer. I don't necessarily, tiptoe across these situations. And I said, oh, so the boss told you you're an idiot with nothing whatsoever of value to offer the organization? And he looked at me and said, no. I said, okay, I'm just clarifying here. And then he went into, you're supposed to be non-judgmental and all this kind of stuff. And I said to him, you're betting your career on what might be an assumption. Is it an assumption or is it fact? You want to bet your career on this? And his answer was, no. I said, then what do you want and how are you going to build towards it? So we discussed what he really wanted from his new boss. Because the bottom line was, everything they were experiencing, it was a hot issues time, had nothing to do with his portfolio. So he really did not have a lot of input, and the boss really didn't experience him and everything he did to for the organization. So he went into the meeting, rather than have this chip on his shoulder, thinking the boss didn't respect him, didn't value him, instead showed the boss what he was doing for the organization so it wouldn't be a hot issue. Mm-hmm. And then he figured out what was his ask of the boss to support him in a career path. And that 30-minute meeting with the boss went totally differently than if he went in with the assumption and that chip on his shoulder that he wasn't valued or appreciated.
Yep.
There was no validity to it.
Which is interesting. Had he not had the great fortune of working with you at that stage, at that point, was he willing to bet his career that the next boss wouldn't do the exact same thing? And when you think about that scenario, right, it's like, well, here's a new boss that came in that doesn't know you and hasn't seen your proven worth, but you're starting another company and you're going to go to another company and you're going to be in the exact same position because they don't know you and they even know less of you because you don't even have a whole litany of colleagues that can say, yeah, absolutely, that person can get the job done because they've worked with you thus far. But you're basically really towing a really dangerous line because you're ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because you're making assumptions, like you said, without really understanding all the true facts and establishing that foothold. And so the way that you steered it, I think, is brilliant because I think that I think a lot of people have that tendency to think those things. It's especially in whether it be an acquisition situation or you have a management change above you. The automatic assumption is that these folks are going to bring in their own people, or they're looking to chop heads, or they're looking to shake things up. And as individuals, it's very easy to see and identify with why we all have that fear factor, but that's where we're playing from at that level, which is the fear. And when those things happen, we often make not the most informed decisions, and we often put ourselves in positions that had we just kept our mouth shut, or we were open to opening our mouth and asking some deeper, more meaningful questions, we would have much better outcomes than what the story is that's playing in our mind.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So these are some of the questions that you keep in the back of your mind. And when you feel that you're about to jump in with both feet into the unknown based on an assumption, because if you have no data to prove something, it is an assumption at that point in time, figure out not what is the action you need to take, what is the question you need to ask yourself.
Yep.
That is it. And we talked about this previously. What is the question you need to ask right now?
Yep, absolutely. Well, just that wanna bet is a great, gut check for an individual that says, hey, am I willing to bet my livelihood? Am I willing to bet my reputation? Am I willing to bet that, this person is going to see my value, and want to continue to work with me, or will he or she look at me differently because of the way I react or respond? Or am I willing to just throw it all out and say, I'm going to try it with another boss? And when you start to really think about that, it's like, well, no, I'm really totally starting over again. This is a completely different scenario. But, probably even worse because I don't have that backflow of, support and, an existing reputation by which they can make judgment. And so, I can see that in a business sense. I can also see it a lot in your personal life, the different things that come up from time to time that have, whether it be us working in a nonprofit or supporting a local organization, some of the things that, that tend to come up that are unbusiness related, but still reputation focused. I think those, that question, am I willing to bet my reputation on this? Am I willing to bet whatever the stakes are, right? Fill in the blank, like you say, I think is a really good way to take that, that pause and make sure that I'm committed before I open my mouth or take my action.
And the same goes for relationships, right? Mm-hmm. In your personal and professional life, am I willing to bet this relationship on what I'm going to do next?
Yep.
Hard question.
It is a hard question. And, but an incredibly powerful one because, when you're prepared and willing to, stick to your guns and carry that forward, that says something about you as well. And, I think the nice thing about the coaching relationship, I think you and I have with our clients is that, they come to us because they want those kinds of questions. They need somebody to be on that other shoulder that says, oh, hold on, what about this? Have you thought about that? And those kinds of things I think are really key. But as you say, with relationships, even that's a really valuable question. If I were to put it all the way back to when you and I first met and somehow, some way we got on that phone call and you're like, hey, let's do this again. And if I was like, well, I'm not sure that I'm on your level. And you didn't ask me the want to bet question, but you kind of threw that back at, you're like, that's ridiculous. We just talked for like 30 minutes and we definitely have way more to explore and way more to do here. But I would, if I had just stopped and said, I don't know that I have anything to a value to offer in this conversation or to benefit your life or career in any way, that approach on that question would have been really powerful for me to just slap me upside the head and go, what are you talking about? Right. It's just, it really drives you back to the outcome that you really need to go for, in the direction you need to head. So.
That's it. I don't hit you to the side of the head. I just throw hockey pucks at you.
That's right. Fortunately, they don't hurt too bad when we're on these, these video calls. But, when you see me, man, that last lump, whoa.
Yeah, wear a hard hat. There you go.
Well, another great topic, another great question, for people to really consider and think about. And as we have reminded you in all these episodes, whether you're tuning in through the podcast or you happen to be watching us on the YouTube video, video, we want you to really take these questions to heart and ask yourself these things, and then engage us. We would love to hear what you think, how you're perceiving this topic, how if you're struggling with how to leverage it, how to really put that process going forward, how to put that into action for you. This or any of the questions or topics that we've raised on any of our prior episodes, we would love to engage with you and hear what you're thinking of it and where we can help and benefit you. Because that's the whole point of us doing this show is to just get people out of their comfort zone to be thinking about things differently that can make improvements in their personal and their professional life.
And if you have a question you'd like us to explore, throw that in there too, because we'll be happy to discuss it on air and see what you think of it.
Absolutely. Questions, scenarios you're facing, issues at work, issues in your personal life, give us a little bit of context. We can, we won't put your name out there unless you ask us to. But we can definitely talk through some of those scenarios. And that's one of, I know from personal experience, that's one of Donna's skill sets, is to be able to sort of read the tea leaves, understand sort of the perspectives, but give some really solid strategic and consultative advice about what to do next. And I think that's the whole point of what we're doing this for. So Donna, how would people approach us, like on Facebook, if they wanted to enter our group and they wanted to maybe, engage us personally?
Look for Inquiring Minds with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper. Join the group. It's open. Invite your friends to join the group.
Yep.
Let's continue the discussion online, and we would love to hear your perspective.
Absolutely. And you can find us online individually at donnacarlin.com. And my website is ripplecentral.com. You also have links to all of our social channels that we work on. Donna's a huge, I think you're pretty much individually propping up LinkedIn yourself with all the great content you put there. But LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, you can find us all those links on our sites. And we just appreciate you taking the time to listen and engage in these conversations. And we hope you take the topics that you hear and carry them forward into your own conversations and your own networks. So we definitely appreciate we'd appreciate hearing from you and seeing how those go as well. So Donna, as always, this is fantastic. Another great topic. Thanks for, bringing this to the table and indulging us a little bit with some of that amazing strategic thinking you've got.
To be continued.
To be continued. We'll be back with another episode very soon with another great question and topic to discuss. But until then, thanks for joining us. Donna, you have a great day, and we will speak soon.
Sounds good. Take care.
Take care.